really want to be a mum.
If you can imagine yourself doing anything else, you should do that other thing.
Historically, it was quite a prestigious career.
I want to work, but there's so much more to life than work.
It was almost expected that you do 70 plus hours a week.
For decades, surgery has represented one of the most prestigious careers in society, but the pathway has always demanded a lot of sacrifice. Long hours, intense training, delayed family life, and for a long time, that bargain held up. But speaking to these med students and surgeons across Melbourne, I started hearing a similar tension emerge. Younger doctors still value medicine a lot. They want to be doctors, but they're increasingly questioning whether elite careers should require complete self-sacrifice in return. And that has major implications for Australia's surgical pipeline.
And when I was in their position, you were passionate about it. You did everything you could to get onto a surgical program. So you would do all those extra hours.
There are people in there who this is their thing, this is their only dream, and they are so deeply committed to be competitive in that field. It's got to be your true committed love. Like, I think the experience of getting to be a doctor and getting to be around all of these amazing, interesting things and getting to be in people's lives in those moments is worth everything.
Historically, it was quite a prestigious career. When I went through training, it was almost expected that you do 70 plus hours a week, get exposure to all the different surgical pathologies you have to treat. To be a surgeon, you need to develop those technical skills, and that only comes with time.
People are rejecting the traditional sort of model. I think it is possibly a generational shift.
Ideally, I don't want to work full time, which I know to some people might sound like lazy, or like I think that's kind of what our generation is framed as.
I wouldn't say they're less passionate. Maybe they've just got different priorities, I'd say, from my generation, for instance.
I've gone into a career that is a passion career, so I want to work, but there's so much more to life than work.
The younger generation, they are more focused on their quality of life and family time as well. I'm getting to the point in my career where that's a big focus for me, but it took me another 2 decades to sort of realise that.
I really want to be a mum, so I want to be able to have a job that works well with that.
People are more mentally well when they are more than one thing. The classic thing of a medical student is that they lose all of their hobbies.
And I think people are shifting towards wanting to take agency over both being a professional, being a skilled professional, but also giving themselves the permission to enjoy their life outside of their work. Looking at trends in medical students and junior doctors who would preference surgery as their top specialty, it's still ranking in the top 3. We are, however, seeing numbers declining in general, and applications to getting on the training program, that has been declining.
Getting into the training programs is so absurdly competitive. You could spend 2 decades trying to get into this one training program only to never get there.
A lot of training pathways are quite difficult, especially if you want to have kids, get early 30s or late 20s.
If the applicant rate, the successful applicant rate, and the number of fellows that graduate per year, if they stay the rate they are now, downstream in 10, 15 years, that's where we would run into a potential issue of not having enough surgeons across all specialties to
Service the population.
So I don't think medical students are getting exposure to surgery. I think the college can do better in terms of giving people more security around the pipeline to becoming a surgeon. At the moment, if you're a junior doctor interested in surgery, you probably end up working 4, 5, 6 years in a hospital with no guarantee of getting onto a surgical training program.
For myself, if surgery was more feasible to actually get into a training stream, to actually get to the consultant level, it would be something I'd be more likely to consider.
If you're not also increasing the number of training spots for specialties, you're just kind of stuck as a junior.
There are a lot of people in sort of limbo who want to do surgery who can't.
In 2015, there was quite a big review of surgical culture. Most of the people working within the surgical field did express that bullying in the workplace and sexism was just being allowed to sort of happen.
Looking at the registrars breaking down, their stress would then get piled on us, and they would yell at us because they were stressed, and you could step back and see that they're not necessarily annoyed at us and it's their pressures coming down. But I just think it was a very high stress environment and definitely made me feel anxious in that sort of setting.
It can take a lot of I guess, mental strain to get over it. It could be 2 or 3 weeks of not sleeping properly, for instance, and you take the stress home to the families.
It used to be sort of a tough it out and, just don't complain.
The culture is to make a stressful, hard sort of environment rather than a more supportive one, which I would argue a supportive environment would probably have the similar or not better outcomes for patients.
Look, yeah, it's getting better. Surgery, I think, still has it more than medicine.
We are starting to see that change, the goal to flatten the hierarchy. So what that involves is trying to foster a sense of respect for different perspectives.
You need people within each organisation, each hospital, that are really pushing to make those changes and recognise there is a problem.
I think it's already starting to shift with the juniors and registrars having different life experiences than the consultants. If your team around you is all saying, oh, actually, I kind of don't want to do the overtime, I think I'm just going to stay with my family or spend some time for myself and recover. If your team is all kind of resonating with that, then it will make it easier for you to go home and do that.
I find it interesting that, there's a certain typecast for people who will become surgeons. I think I definitely don't fit into that. And it's almost like a bit of a personal challenge to see what would happen if I place myself in these situations.